Hello and welcome to NYU's Office of Financial Aid webinar on Federal Direct Loans for graduate students. We're happy to welcome you to the NYU community. Our hope is that by the end of this session, you have a clear understanding of the federal direct loans you may have available to you so that you will have all the information you need to move forward. Before we get started for today, we'd like to introduce ourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zarina Smith. I have a bachelor's in English literature from the New School. And a fun fact about me is while I'm left-handed, I place my mouse on the right side of my computer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alondra Mejia. I have a bachelor's from Yale University and a master's from New York University. And my fun fact is that I learned how to play the violin in kindergarten.
And hello all, my name is Jonathan Rivera. I have a master's in organizational leadership and business and a bachelor's in business administration. And a fun fact about me is I do quite the Sean Connery impression.
This webinar is primarily for graduate students who are new to NYU for the 2026-2027 academic year, and/or returning NYU graduate students who have never previously borrowed a federal direct loan. U.S. citizens and eligible non-citizens who complete the FAFSA may be eligible for optional federal direct student loans through the federal government. You can find detailed information about all of these loan options at the federal site, studentaid.gov. However, today's webinar will provide basic information on the federal direct loans that may have been offered on your Student Financial Aid Award. We'll talk about direct loans, what is needed to secure the loans for disbursement, interest rates and loan fees, annual and lifetime loan limits, as well as other key points of interest. Please use the Q&A box to submit your questions during our presentation. The information provided today regarding the Federal Direct Loan Program takes into account changes to the program as required by the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, effective July 1st, 2026. While it's based on our good faith understanding of the evolving federal standards, it is not official guidance and should not be regarded as definitive. Students should refer to federal governmental sources such as studentaid.gov for official guidance. We'll now begin with some highlights about federal direct loans.
Federal student loans are funded by the federal government and are not a private lender such as a bank, credit union, or state agency. These loans have terms and conditions that are set by law and may include many benefits, such as fixed interest rates and guaranteed non-credit-based loans that typically are not offered with private loans. Federal student loans are used to pay towards a student's cost of attendance. The cost of attendance is an estimate of what the overall cost will be for you when you are enrolled as a graduate student at NYU, including tuition, fees, books and supplies, room, food, and transportation. Your annual cost of attendance is meant to help you plan and account for your anticipated educational expenses for your degree program each year. To be eligible for direct unsubsidized loans, students must meet eligibility requirements such as filing their FAFSA each year, be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen, meet enrollment requirements such as maintaining at least half-time status, which is 4.5 credits, as well as meet satisfactory academic progress. Students can find satisfactory academic progress on the Office of Financial Aid website under Resources for Current Students. Look for the Graduate Student tab and go to Step 3, Maintain Satisfactory Academic Progress.
You may have heard in the news about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or OB3, was passed on July 4th, 2025, and will impact certain federal student aid programs starting July 1st, 2026. The Federal Graduate Plus loan has been eliminated as of July 1st, 2026, for students who have never borrowed a federal loan, either an unsubsidized or Grad Plus loan, in their current degree program at NYU. It's also very important to note that the One Big Beautiful Bill Act requires schools to prorate annual loan amounts in direct proportion to a student's enrolled credit load. This means that the amount of unsubsidized loan you'll be eligible to receive will change if you are less than full-time during any semester, and could change if you add or drop credits. Full-time status for graduate students at NYU is 9 or more credits. We'll talk about annual and aggregate limits for unsubsidized loans shortly. Multiple steps are needed to secure your loan. Next, we'll talk about how you can take action to accept your offered Federal Direct Unsubsidized Loan.
After your eligibility has been confirmed, action on your part will be needed for your loan to be utilized. NYU will never assume that you plan to use a loan, so you as the student would need to make that decision. Loans will need to be accepted if you wish to utilize them, or you may decline some or all of the loans you have been offered. This is done in your NYU Albert student portal. If you aren't sure whether you need to utilize a loan, it's okay for you not to take any action at this time. They will continue to be in an offered status during the semester in case you need them at any point. If you only want to use a portion of your offered loan or loans, you don't need to accept them in full. It can be reduced during the accept decline process. We thought it would be useful to show you a screenshot of what that would look like. This is an example of the accept decline financial aid screen in NYU Albert. NYU Albert is the student portal where you can access information and records and take action on items related to registration, financial aid, and billing. For the loan in this example, if you plan to accept it, you would need to select yes next to the accept unsubsidized loan and no next to decline unsubsidized loan. To decline the loan, you would do the opposite. Again, if you have not decided whether you will need a loan, it would be fine to leave it untouched until the time that you know what you would like to do. You would just need to take action at least 2 weeks before the end of the semester that the loan would apply to, so that we have enough time to process it. After the semester for the loan is finished, it would be too late to accept the loan at that point, and it will be canceled. Unsubsidized loans will generally be offered as separate fall, spring, and summer loans, though it won't be uncommon to see a combined fall-spring loan on your financial aid award in certain cases. Please note that if you are accepting a combined fall-spring loan, the amount you accept would be split evenly between both semesters.
If you are offered an unsubsidized loan and you plan to accept any portion of these funds, you will need to complete the following 2 items on the federal site, studentaid.gov, to allow for disbursement. One is loan entrance counseling. Entrance counseling ensures you understand the terms and conditions of your loans and your rights and responsibilities as a loan borrower. You'll learn what a loan is, how interest works, your options for repayment, and how to avoid delinquency and default. The other is the Master Promissory Note, or MPN for short, for the unsubsidized loan. The MPN is your promise to use the funding as intended towards the allowable cost of your education, as well as your promise to pay back the loan. MPNs are good for all unsubsidized loans made during a 10-year period. Students must be logged into studentaid.gov to complete their required loan documents, again, which are direct loan entrance counseling and the unsubsidized direct loan master promissory note. Once logged in, students will navigate to the Grants and Loans menu, then the Get a Loan submenu, where you will find the loan entrance counseling and master promissory note options. Now let's take a closer look at interest rates and loan fees.
New fixed interest rates are determined each year and apply to all loans first disbursed during the period from July 1st of one year through June 30th of the following year. For the period of July 2025 to June 2026, the fixed interest rate for unsubsidized loans was 7.94%. The new interest rate for unsubsidized loans for the period of July 2026 to June 2027 is slightly increased from 7.94% to 8.07%. Loan fees, also called origination fees, are fees that the federal government charges to process your loans. These fees are based on a percentage of the loan amount at the time of each disbursement. The unsubsidized loan fee for the period of July 2025 through June of 2026 is 1.057%. There's no change to the unsubsidized loan fee for the period of July 2026 through June of 2027. It remains at 1.057%. To illustrate how loan fees work, let's look at these example unsubsidized loans. In the first example, on the left, the total of the loan for the year is $20,500. So $10,250 for fall and $10,250 for spring. In this example, the student is enrolled full-time in each term. After the 1.057% loan fees deducted from each disbursement, a net amount of $10,142 will disperse to the student's bursar bill. In the second example on the right, the student is enrolled full-time in the fall term and half-time in the spring term. Due to loan proration rules, the spring unsubsidized loan is reduced by 50% to $5,125 gross, resulting in a net disbursement of $5,071. You should account for these fees when deciding the amount of unsubsidized loan you'd like to borrow. Federal regulations require us to adhere to annual and aggregate loan limits. Students borrowing Federal Direct Unsubsidized loans are subject to three kinds of loan limits. One is the annual maximum loan limit, which restricts the total amount of unsubsidized loans that may be borrowed during a single academic year, fall, spring, and/or summer. The maximum annual amount a graduate student can borrow in federal unsubsidized loans is $20,500 for full-time enrollment per year. Remember that the loan will be prorated if you're not maintaining full-time status. Another limit is the aggregate loan limit, which restricts the total amount of federal direct unsubsidized loans that may be borrowed over a student's college career. This amount is $100,000. The third is the lifetime loan limit. This maximum amount of $257,500 includes all federal direct loan borrowing as an undergraduate and a graduate or professional student. This limit includes any subsidized loans you may have received in your undergraduate career, Perkins loans, and unsubsidized loans for both undergrad and graduate careers, as well as all graduate plus loans previously received.
A student's financial aid awards, including the Federal Direct Unsubsidized Loan, may not completely cover their cost of attendance. Student loans from private lenders may be an option for students who need additional loan funding above the annual $20,500 that the FAFSA offers, or for students who are ineligible for federal student loans, such as international students. You will not see private loans offered as part of a financial aid package. So if you're interested in a private student loan, you would need to research different banks and lenders and decide for yourself which loan you would like to pursue. NYU offers a preferred lender list on our website, and you can apply for a private loan with a lender of your choice on Elm Select. We encourage students to carefully evaluate their options when deciding whether or not to borrow a private educational loan. Unlike federal direct student loans, each lender and bank will offer different types of educational loans with different terms and fees. Private loans are student loans offered through a number of different private banks and lenders. They are not through the federal government. Terms and conditions for these loans may vary and are determined by the specific lender you are applying with. This includes interest rates, repayment options, fees, forgiveness options, etc. They will require a credit check in order to qualify, and they will be in the name of the student, but often require a qualified U.S.-based cosigner if you're unable to be approved on your own. Some lenders will also allow for loans to cover past due balances for previous semester bills. It's important to know that private student loans require certification by the Office of Financial Aid after you are approved. This process can take up to 3 weeks. Our preferred lender list is provided as a resource to assist students in comparing private loan options. None of the lenders on the university's preferred lender list are affiliated. You are not required to borrow from private education lenders on the list, and it's possible that you could obtain better rates or terms from lenders not on this list. Lenders included on this list were selected through a formal request for information process. If you are looking at private loans, we always encourage you to be sure that you understand the terms and conditions of these loans before agreeing to borrow. You can visit the private loan section of the Office of Financial Aid's website by navigating to Admissions, Financial Aid and Scholarships, Types of Aid, then click on Private Loans. Under the Private Student Loan Lenders link, there will be a section specifically designated for graduate students.
While financial aid is responsible for the offering and processing of your aid, inevitably, these funds will be processed towards your bursar bill. Let's take a look at the aid from a financial aid and bursar's perspective. Oftentimes, students utilize federal loans to assist with any remaining costs not covered by scholarships, grants, or work study. These costs may be billed by the university, such as tuition, fees, and on-campus housing, or may include indirect costs students may incur. Some examples may include books, supplies, off-campus rent, and living expenses. In reference to securing your aid, please decide on the amount of loans you need. In order for aid to disperse to your bill, you must follow all the steps to secure your aid by accepting the loans and completing all required documentation. Processing of your paperwork can take 7 to 10 days, and as such, we suggest you try to complete this process as soon as possible, but no later than 2 weeks before the start of the fall semester. By accepting and completing all documents as soon as possible, you allow NYU and the Department of Education enough time to process federal aid prior to your semester bill being released. Loans will generally be offered per semester. You must accept each loan, as accepting one semester's loans does not mean that the other semester's loans will be automatically accepted for you. Under certain circumstances, a combined fall-spring or spring-summer loan might be offered. In this case, both portions of the loan will be accepted at the same time.
Bills are typically released in the beginning of August for the fall term and in December for the spring term. By processing your aid, your initial bill should reflect any anticipated aid through that point. While you may decide to accept your loans at a later date if they weren't originally needed, please be aware that anticipated aid and disbursement will be delayed. You may be expected to pay out of pocket if there are remaining costs and your loans aren't processed. Keep in mind that any loans that are offered as combined fall-spring loans require no additional documentation for the spring portion of your loan to disburse. However, if you're ever offered a semester-specific loan, such as a fall unsubsidized loan, you have until 2 weeks prior to the fall semester ending to accept these loans. Similarly, spring loans can be accepted 2 weeks prior to the spring semester ending. After the fall and spring terms end, federal regulations prohibit schools from originating new loans for that completed period of enrollment. The same applies to summer loans.
Financial aid must first be applied to the items that you owe on your bursar bill. If all billed items aren't covered by financial aid, you can pay out of pocket or look into private student loans. Any excess funds will be sent to you as a refund. Any deposits required for admission or on-campus housing cannot be paid with financial aid funds. Your out-of-pocket deposit payment will be credited toward your fall term bursar bill, but you will not have a deposit credit for the spring term bill. You can either pay the same costs out of pocket if your bill isn't covered by financial aid, or look into private student loan options. Students can contact the office of the bursar regarding any payment plans that might be available to them.
Disbursement means that your aid has been credited towards your bill. While we initially anticipate aid on your bill, actual disbursement occurs approximately 10 days prior to the start of your first class due to federal regulations. In order for it to disperse, you must have accepted your financial aid and have completed all of your paperwork. You will also need to be enrolled in the number of credits your financial aid is based on. That means if your financial aid is based on 9 credits or more, which is considered full-time enrollment, and you are only enrolled in 7 credits, your financial aid will not disperse. You would need to either enroll in at least 2 more credits or update your enrollment in the financial aid section of your Albert portal using the anticipated enrollment link. Upon receipt, the Office of Financial Aid will update your aid based on 7 credits.
If there is financial aid money left over after your bursar bill has been paid, you will receive a refund 3 to 5 business days later. Refunds to students will be issued in the form of a check unless the student has selected to receive refunds by direct deposit. We strongly recommend you sign up for direct deposit through the office of the bursar, as it is the fastest way to receive your refund. Refunds aren't just extra money. They're meant to cover educational expenses that aren't on your bill, like books, supplies, off-campus rent, transportation, and other living costs. This is where the live like a student mindset really matters. Avoid splurging on things you do not need, and don't spend all of the refund at the start of the term. Instead, plan ahead, set a budget for the semester so you're making smart financial choices. Here are some final reminders and tips before you go.
We strongly encourage students to borrow only what is needed to pay for billed and unbilled educational and living expenses. If there is an additional credit remaining after paying for what is needed, you have the option to return excess funds to the lender. You can do this by completing a request form on the Finances tab of the NYU Albert portal. The Office of Financial Aid will cancel the requested amount of the loan on your behalf. Unwanted excess funds can be returned to the lender by the school up to 113 days after each disbursement is made towards the bursar bill. After that, students can return the excess funds in the form of a one-time payment directly to the loan servicer. Remember that loan fees are deducted from each disbursement before the funds are credited towards your bursar bill. There is a loan fee calculator on the NYU website that will tell you the gross amount you will need to borrow if you are looking for a specific net amount or vice versa.
Also remember that interest starts to accrue for unsubsidized loans at the time of disbursement on each loan that you take. Loans can only be originated up until the end of the specific term you would like to apply the funds. For this reason, any loan that you need to utilize to cover a specific term's bill must be accepted via the NYU Albert portal at least 2 weeks prior to the end of that term. This is to allow enough time for processing before that deadline. Once the term has ended, federal regulations prohibit schools from originating new loans that would have covered the period of enrollment that ended. Loans that remain in an offered status on your award package will be canceled once the term is over. Another federal financial aid regulation prohibits schools from making the first disbursement of a loan more than 180 days after a term has ended. This means that if your loans have successfully originated prior to the last day of a particular term, but have not dispersed due to missing loan documents, there will be a limited window for those missing loan documents to be completed before the loans are canceled. We encourage students to complete their required loan documents in a timely manner.
Studentaid.gov is the federal student aid portal for student borrowers. This is the site where your FAFSA will be filed each year and where student borrowers can complete the required loan documents we've already spoken about. Studentaid.gov is also a very important resource for borrowers while the student is in school and once they leave school. A record of federal loan borrowing will be available to students, which is important information to know as students approach graduation. The federal site also has very useful tools such as the situation-based loan repayment simulators, information on various federal loan repayment plans, as well as loan consolidation information and application.
In order for offered financial aid to be processed, students must log into their NYU Albert portal and accept or decline their offered aid. This would be done via the Finances tab of your NYU Albert portal. Students are encouraged to check their NYU Albert portal often to see if there are any outstanding documents that need to be completed or any financial aid items that need attention. For example, this is where a student would see if an unsubsidized loan NPN is still required or if we haven't received the student's direct loan entrance counseling. These are just a few examples of what financial aid items might be requested or announced to students via their NYU Albert portal. Also in the Finances tab, students can find links to various financial aid forms, such as a request for additional federal loan funds and federal work-study eligibility. These forms will only appear for students who are eligible to complete and submit them. By additional loan funds, we don't mean that we can give a student more than their annual loan amount or more than what their prorated term for less than full-time enrollment is. If a student initially accepted a lower amount of their loans than what they ended up needing, or initially declined their loans, this form can be used to let us know you would like to be reviewed for loan eligibility. Keep in mind, your NYU Albert portal is not just for financial aid. Information and links related to your academic and registrar data, as well as your bursar account, can be accessed here. This includes any holds that have been placed on your account.
Most questions that were submitted through the Q&A box have been answered. However, if your question did not get answered or if you have further questions, you can reach out to us using the contact information we will be sharing shortly. In addition to the submitted questions, we would like to share a few of the most frequently asked questions we encounter.
I've been offered a federal unsubsidized loan. Am I required to accept it? Financial aid that has been offered to you, such as an unsubsidized loan, are optional forms of aid. You are not required to accept an offered loan if you do not wish to take it out. You can decline the offered loan or only accept a portion of it if you wish via your NYU Albert student portal.
My unsubsidized loan, along with my other financial aid, won't be enough to cover my bill and expenses. What can I do? Private student loans can help you bridge the gap between the financial aid you've already been offered and your bursar bill, as well as provide funding for non-billed expenses like books, supplies, personal items, and education-related travel. Information on private loans can be found on our public website. Before you borrow additional funds, we encourage you to evaluate your overall costs, which can include billed expenses, tuition and fees, and other types of expenses needed to attend NYU, housing, health insurance, books. Once you determine your overall financial needs for attending your program, we want you to seek out outside scholarships as well as private loans, which may be helpful. To assist with your financial education needs, such as making a budget, you can look at our website nyu.edu/financial-ed.
I completed my loan documents, but my aid hasn't credited to my bursar bill. How do I confirm if there are any steps missing? After the student has completed any of their required federal loan documents on studentaid.gov, you can navigate to the My Info section of studentaid.gov and then to the My Documents section. There, you will be able to view all documents that have been completed under the student's FSA ID, including the FAFSA report, completed loan counseling, and completed MPNs. Please allow 3 to 5 business days for NYU to receive these documents. Also, at any point after you've accepted your financial aid, you can log into your NYU Albert portal and look at your to-do list. If there are any outstanding items that you must complete for your unsubsidized loan, such as master promissory note or entrance counseling, it will be shown there. This is true as well for any outstanding items a student needs to complete for financial aid eligibility.
Can I receive my loan funds early so that I can pay for my off-campus apartment deposit? No, federal regulations prevent the school from dispersing federal financial aid more than 10 days prior to the start of your first class. If you're expecting a refund, you can touch base with the Office of the Bursar about a potential refund advance, as they may start to release funds 2 weeks earlier than the disbursement date. To expedite the process, you should sign up for the direct deposit with the Bursar's office.
Will I be able to reduce or cancel an accepted loan if I later find that I don't need all of it? The answer to that would be yes. If you decide that you don't need all of the loan funds that you've accepted prior to the funds being dispersed towards your bursar bill, you can email the Office of Financial Aid and request to have that specific loan reduced or canceled in full. If you realize that you don't need all of your loan funds after the loan has been dispersed towards your bursar bill, regardless of whether a refund has been issued, you will need to request a reduction or cancellation via the Request to Return Loan Funds form on the Finances tab on your NYU Albert portal. Please remember that if you did receive a refund, you may be required to pay back some or all of the portion you are returning.
What happens to my loans and financial aid if I drop a class or withdraw completely from school? Withdrawing from all classes or dropping a class at any point after the add drop period may negatively impact your satisfactory academic progress and possibly affect your eligibility for future aid. Additionally, if you drop a course or withdraw from the semester, you may be required to return some or all of your financial aid, including federal loans. Also, if you remain enrolled in a semester, but you've dropped a number of enrolled credits, we will need to prorate that term's unsubsidized loan based on federal regulations. The Office of Financial Aid is here for you. Let us know how we can be of service. For students admitted to our New York campus, you can reach us by phone at 212-998-4444 or by email at financial.aid@nyu.edu. Our phones are open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mondays and lunch hours are our heaviest phone traffic times, so calling in the morning Tuesday through Friday is the best bet.
We really appreciate your taking the time to join us this evening. If you have any other questions, we encourage you to send our office an email, as phone wait times during this busy part of the year can be long. And we value your perspective as well. Help us improve our direct loan webinar by completing a quick 8-question, 2-minute survey. Using your phone, scan the QR code to help us tailor future content to our students' needs. Thank you all for attending today, and on behalf of the Office of Financial Aid, welcome to NYU.